The first thing you need to know is that the bus stop was never supposed to be there. It wasn't on any of the city maps, not on the transit app, not on the printed folding schedules crumpled in the bottom of old ladies' purses. Officially, there was nothing at the corner of Ashwood and Briar Lane, but an old warehouse and a stretch of cracked pavement. And yet, every night, right around 11:40, the bus shelter flickered into existence. Not in a flash of light, not in a plume of smoke. It was subtler than that. One moment, the sidewalk would be bare, just a leaning street light, a sagging chain-link fence, and the distant hum of traffic. The next moment, if you looked back, there it was, a glass-sided shelter with a warped metal bench and a smeared advertisement panel, as if it had always been there, just outside your peripheral vision. I didn't discover it by accident. I had been watching that corner for weeks. My name doesn't matter yet. What matters is that I work nights. I've always felt more awake after dark, always felt a little more myself when the rest of the city finally shuts up. I'm the guy you don't notice, the janitor with keys to places you've forgotten exist, the one mopping fluorescent hallways while you sleep, the one emptying trash from your office trash can while your family photos stare down at me. I get off work at 11:15 most nights. The bus I'm supposed to take home stops 6 blocks away at a brightly lit, well-documented, completely normal corner. There are cameras there, a coffee shop, the warm glow of late-night traffic. I haven't gone to that stop in 2 months. Instead, I walk the wrong direction, past shuttered storefronts and dark apartment windows, toward Ashwood and Briar, where the streetlights grow thinner, and the air grows heavier, and the sound of the city feels strangely muffled, as if the buildings themselves are holding their breath. Every night I tell myself I won't go back. Every night I end up standing at that corner again, staring at the empty sidewalk, waiting for a bus stop that isn't supposed to exist. I wish I could tell you this was curiosity. It isn't. It feels more like compulsion, like a hook in my mind, tugging. It's raining the night the story begins. Not a storm, not a cinematic downpour, just that steady, needling drizzle that soaks you without ever feeling dramatic enough to warrant an umbrella. The pavement gleams in sickly orange bands under the streetlights, and every car that passes leaves a wavering smear of reflected headlights in the water. I stand at the corner, hands in my pockets, collar up, watching the empty stretch of sidewalk across the street. There's nothing there. I know there's nothing there. I checked earlier, from the opposite corner just to be sure. Just cracked concrete and an overfilled trash can leaning like it's drunk. Then a car passes, its headlights flaring across my eyes, forcing me to squint. For less than a second, I blink. And when my vision clears, the shelter is there. Glass sides, metal frame, a roof stained by years of rain, that smeared advertisement panel showing some half-torn poster for a movie that never came out. The trash can is now tucked neatly beside the shelter, as if the city put it there on purpose. The shelter is empty. It is always empty when it arrives. My heart does that now familiar, sick little lurch. Because empty doesn't mean safe. Empty means it's waiting. I cross the street without looking for cars. My world narrowed to that rectangle of glass and metal. The rain patters on the shelter's roof, trickling down the panels, dragging little rivers of grime in crooked tracks. You'd think something that just appeared out of nowhere would look new. It doesn't. The bus stop looks old. Lived in, abused. The glass is scratched with names carved by keys and knives. Stickers half peeled away, cling stubbornly to the metal poles. Gum is mashed hard as stone under the edge of the bench. Most people never see it. That's the first rule I've figured out. Only certain people ever notice this stop. People who work late, people whose families no longer wait up for them, people who walk home instead of taking cabs, counting their tips or their hours or their regrets. People who are already a little worn down at the edges. Inside the shelter, screwed into the back panel, there's a bus schedule. I've taken a picture of it on my phone before, but every time I look, the photo is corrupted, blacked out, pixelated, smeared by glitching lines. So now I just read it when I'm there. 12 o'clock midnight, 2 o'clock, 3:03. Those are the only times listed. No route number, no destination, just a single line, printed in small faded letters, last service. Below that, smaller still, more of a whisper than text. All journeys final. The first time I saw that, I thought it was a prank. The second time, I didn't. Tonight, as the drizzle becomes a light mist, I see something new. The schedule has changed. There's another line added at the bottom, the letters still wet with ink, like they've been written just moments ago. A time, 11:59, and next to it, a single word, reserved. I know I should leave. I feel it like a pressure across my chest, a solid, sensible voice inside me saying, "Go home, take the normal bus, forget you ever saw this place." But that voice is quieter than something else, something that feels like interest, from the outside, as if, standing under this shelter, I am no longer just a man in the rain, but a specimen under glass. I look up at the streetlight beside the shelter. The bulb vibrates with that faint, electric hum, and the moths that should be circling it are gone. In fact, I realize there are no insects here at all. No bugs, no stray cats, no rats scurrying along the curb, no life except me and the dripping rain. I glance back at the schedule. The word reserved seems darker now, the ink soaking deeper into the paper. Reserved for who? I mutter. I'm not expecting an answer. I get one anyway. A droplet of water falls from the shelter's roof and splashes onto the bench beside me, clear and clean in the grimy light. It spreads in a thin, trembling puddle. Letters form in that water, not in ink, not in any substance at all, just a suggestion of shape on the bench's slick surface. 4 letters. Y-O-U. The puddle quivers. Then the letters lose their shape, dissolving back into a formless wet patch. I don't move. My mind scrambles for explanations, reflection, trick of the light, pattern seeking. I should laugh it off. I should walk away. But I don't. Because this isn't the first time the bus stop has responded. There's something I need to admit before we go any further. I haven't been entirely honest with you. This isn't the first night I've waited here. It isn't the 3rd or the 10th. I have been coming here every night I can, for weeks, sometimes just standing, sometimes sitting, sometimes pressing my palm flat to the cold glass, listening, really listening, to the silence. And I have seen things. A man in a suit, his tie soaked, staring at the schedule with the same hollow confusion. A teenage girl in a work uniform, mascara running down from her tired eyes. An older woman clutching 2 plastic grocery bags so tightly her knuckles went white. They all had one thing in common. They never looked at me. Even when I stepped close, even when I cleared my throat or spoke, my words floated into the damp night air like smoke. No eye contact, no acknowledgement. It was as if I wasn't there at all. And each time, at 12 o'clock exactly, A bus would arrive that I could hear but not see clearly. A blur of light and shadow, the suggestion of bulk, the sigh of doors opening, and they would step on. One by one. Each time, the bus would pull away with a growl of its engine and vanish into the darkness of a city that never had that route. And when it was gone, the stop would feel thinner, as if it had fed. I told myself I was only watching, that I wasn't part of it, that I was an observer, not a participant. But tonight, the schedule has been updated, and I can no longer pretend I'm just a witness. My phone says 11:58. The second hand ticks too slowly, like it's moving through syrup. The street around me is quiet. No cars pass. No music thumps from distant windows. It's as if the city has bowed out of this moment, leaving me alone with the structure hunched over the sidewalk, and whatever is behind it. I hear something, faint at first. Not the rumble of an engine, not yet. It's breathing, slow, measured breaths, as though something very large is asleep just a little distance away. And each exhale is dragging over rusted metal and stone. The sound doesn't come from the street, or from behind me, or from above. It comes from the glass itself. I press my fingertips against the panel and feel it, a subtle, rhythmic shudder. The bus stop is breathing. It sounds impossible, doesn't it? I thought so too, until I saw the condensation. On the inside of the glass, where no rain touches, fog blooms in and out with each invisible breath, expanding and contracting like lungs. For a moment the fog thickens, and something presses close from the other side. Not a face. Faces have features. This is an impression. A bulge in the mist, vaguely head-shaped, the suggestion of weight leaning against an unseen barrier. It's not human. It is too tall, too wrong in proportion. The upper part is elongated, as if the skull stretches far back into the darkness, tapering to a point you can't quite see. Where eyes should be, there are deeper shadows that feel like holes in the world. And it is close enough that, if the glass vanished, we would be inches apart. I stop breathing. The fog shape holds for a heartbeat. 2, 3. Then in one long, delighted exhale, it sighs over the surface and more words appear in the condensation, traced by an invisible finger from the inside. You came back. This time, I can't pretend it's a trick of the light. This time, I know. It remembers me. Far down the street, something moves. At first it's just a glow, a smudge of light rounding a distant corner. My gut clenches. I've seen that light before, on other nights, as the man in the suit, the girl in the uniform, the woman with the bags stepped onto something I could only half see. But tonight, the light is different. It's redder, deeper, less like headlights and more like the glow behind closed eyelids when you stare at the sun too long. The breathing in the glass quickens. The condensation words smear and drip, but not before another line gets scrawled beneath the first, the letters jagged and eager. I saved you a seat. There is pleasure in those words, not warmth, not kindness, but a delighted, quivering anticipation. The light grows. I can hear the bus now, or what passes for one. The chugging engine is wrong, too irregular, too organic, like a heart straining to push thick blood through clogged arteries. There's a scraping, too, as if metal is dragging along the asphalt, resisting forward movement. Every sound is layered, as if there is more than one thing moving in perfect unison, stacked on top of itself. I should run. Every instinct in my body screams it. Move, get away, put distance between yourself and this thing. but my feet stay rooted to the slick pavement. It's not paralysis. It's not fear alone. It's fascination. And behind that, coiling through my mind like smoke, something else. A soft hiss that sounds almost like a voice, curling up my spine, stroking the edges of my thoughts. See it. It whispers. You wanted to see it. You've always wanted to see what waits for them. The bus glides into view. At a glance, it looks like any old city bus, if you've ever seen one through the bottom of a dirty glass of water. Its edges waver. The paint color shifts with every passing second. Blue, then gray, then a shade of black, so deep, it seems to devour the streetlights around it. The destination sign above the windshield flickers through nonsense, strings of numbers, symbols, a language I don't recognize. In the dim spill of its interior lights, the windows are bare. No driver, no passengers. But the longer I stare, the more wrong it becomes. The wheels aren't turning right. They don't spin. They flex, bulging against the road like something muscular trying to mimic a circle. The doors don't quite line up, seams pulsing as if stitched onto the side of a living thing that isn't used to being opened. And underneath the normal mechanical noises, there is another sound, a low, resonant vibrato, like a laugh stretched out so long and so low that it becomes nothing but a dark hum. The bus pulls up to the curb. Its brakes hiss, not with air, but with a wet, drawn-out sound that makes my stomach twist, like steam passing through something organic. The doors fold inward with a shudder, and the smell hits me. Not diesel, not city grime, something far older. The dry rot of old churches, the faint scorched scent of candles snuffed by fingers, the iron tang of blood that has had time to sink into wood. My throat closes involuntarily. Inside the bus is darker than it should be, shadows clinging hard in the aisle and pooling under the seats. The overhead lights flicker once, twice, and with each flash, I see it differently. Rows of standard blue plastic seats, then rows of something that might be ribs, then both at once, overlapped, reality and something much worse sharing the same space. I don't see a driver, but I feel its attention. It's like stepping into a spotlight you can't see. A weight of awareness settling over me, pressing down, peeling back layers. It is examining me, the way a child examines an insect pinned under glass. The breath in the shelter glass gusts, thick and ecstatic. Inside you go. The words smear across the condensation, and the glass rattles with the force of unseen laughter. Not tonight, I whisper. My voice sounds small, ridiculous even. The humming deepens. The bus's interior lights dim further, the darkness inside seeming to lean toward me like a curious animal. The open door is a mouth in more ways than one. From the black of the aisle something stirs. Not a hand, not a tentacle, nothing that simple. Instead, the shadows themselves drift, like smoke caught in a draught. They spill down the steps in a thin sheet, stopping inches from my shoes. Where they touch the pavement, the wet asphalt wrinkles as if reacting to a touch, recoiling. An impression of something formed in those shadows, hooks of suggestion, hints of bone and claw, things that are not literal but feel very, very real in my mind. I hear whispers with no source, overlapping, echoing in my skull. We waited. We saved your seat. We wanted you first. Behind those layered whispers there is another presence, singular, focused, unmistakably amused. This is the vessel. But it is not the predator. The predator is wearing it. I understand that with a clarity that makes my teeth ache. The bus is just a skin, a clever disguise, stretched over something far older, something that understands human fear intimately and takes its time savoring it. The darkness on the steps pulses. Step on, it suggests, not in words but in the shape of its silence. See what you've been watching from the outside. Feel it from the inside. The glass beside me fogs over in one sudden wave, as if something enormous on the other side has pressed its entire weight against it. Let me in. The letters are huge now, gouged into the condensation from the inside so forcefully that I hear the faint squeal of fingers dragging against glass. It doesn't want me to board. It wants closer. It wants through. Up to this point, you might still think I'm innocent, a victim, a passerby, someone who stumbled into something he didn't understand. I want you to hold on to that illusion for a moment longer. Because standing there, rain dripping from my hair, heart pounding, staring into that impossible bus, and feeling the attention of the thing wearing it wrapping around my thoughts like cold, wet cloth, I am given a choice. Step forward, or step back. Into the bus, or away from it. You're expecting me to say I ran. That I turned and fled into the comforting anonymity of the city, never to return to that cursed corner. But that's not what happened. Because I have been coming here for weeks. Because I have stood by and watched others vanish into that humming darkness, while I stayed on the sidewalk and pretended I was an observer, not a participant. Because each time, a small, sour seed of envy germinated at the back of my mind, no matter how much I hated myself for it. I wanted to know. I wanted to see what they saw. I wanted to meet the thing that had been watching me watch it. So when the shadows reach toward my shoes, when the glass shakes with the demand, let me in. When the bus's not quite headlights cast long, wrong shadows that curve in directions they shouldn't. I step forward, just one step. Onto the first slick metal stair. The shadows rush up my ankle like freezing smoke. The sensation isn't just cold, it's invasive. It pours into my skin, down through muscle and tendon, into bone, searching, probing, making space for itself. The whispers in my head become screams of laughter, shrill and delighted. Yes, yes, this one knows, this one wants. I gasp, clutching the rail, and for a heartbeat, my vision doubles. I see the bus interior as it really is, not seats, ribs, not overhead lights, eyes. The first time anyone ever told me about the bus stop at Ashwood and Briar, it wasn't a warning. It was a confession. Her name was Marissa Hale, 34, night shift nurse. The kind of person who looked tired even when she smiled, like life had been quietly draining her through a pinhole no one else could see. I didn't know her well, just enough to nod when we passed in the lobby of my building. But the night she knocked on my door, soaked to the bone and shaking, she didn't look like someone seeking help. She looked like someone trying to outrun something that had already caught her. The first time anyone ever told me about the bus stop at Ashwood and Briar, it wasn't a warning. It was a confession. Only one time was listed, 12 a.m., last service. But beneath it, in smaller letters, she had to lean close to read. All journeys final. She laughed nervously when she told me that part. Said it sounded like a joke. Said she thought maybe the city was doing some kind of art installation. But then she saw the second line, a time that hadn't been there a moment earlier. 11509分, reserved. She swore the ink was still wet. She stepped back, heart thudding, and her umbrella slipped from her hand, clattering to the ground. When she bent to pick it up, she saw something reflected in the wet pavement. Not her. Not exactly. A shape behind her. tall, leaning, watching. She spun around. Nothing was there, but the shelter glass had fogged again, and this time words were forming on it, written from the inside by a finger she couldn't see. "Hello, Marissa." She didn't scream. She told me she couldn't. Her throat locked up, her breath froze, her body refused to obey. She backed out of the shelter, rain soaking her hair, her clothes, her shoes. And that's when she heard it, a low, dragging rumble. Not like an engine, more like something heavy being pulled across stone. The streetlights flickered. A glow appeared at the far end of the road, not white, not yellow, red, deep, pulsing red, like light shining through flesh. The bus rounded the corner. She said it looked normal at first, just a city bus, old and dented, headlights cutting through the rain. But the closer it came, the more wrong it became. The wheels didn't spin, they strained, bulging and flexing like tendons under skin. The windows weren't transparent. They were veins, thin and branching, pulsing faintly. And the destination sign above the windshield flickered through symbols she didn't recognize, shapes that made her eyes water just trying to read them. The bus hissed to a stop in front of her. The doors opened, and the smell hit her, burnt incense, old stone, blood. She staggered back, slipping on the wet pavement. Her red umbrella rolled into the gutter, spinning slowly. Inside the bus, the lights flickered, and in one of those flickers, she saw it. Not a driver, not a person. A silhouette hunched over the wheel, its limbs too long, its head too narrow, its spine arching like a hooked blade. Its fingers drummed on the steering column, long, jointed fingers that bent in too many places. It turned toward her. She didn't see eyes. She saw holes, deep, empty sockets that seemed to pull the light inward. And when it smiled, because she swore it smiled, she felt something inside her chest twist, like invisible hands were reaching through her ribs, testing the spaces between her bones. The bus whispered, not aloud, inside her skull. "Come on, Marissa, you've waited long enough." She stumbled backward, slipping in the rain, scrambling to her feet. She ran. She didn't look back. She didn't stop until she reached her apartment building, pounding on my door with shaking fists. She told me everything, every detail, every sound, every breath. And when she finished, she whispered. It knew my name. I asked her one question, a simple one. "Did you see anyone else at the stop?" She hesitated. Her eyes darted to the floor. And then she said something that made my blood run cold. "There was a man," she whispered, "standing inside the shelter. I didn't see his face. He didn't look at me. He just stood there, like he was waiting." My pulse hammered. "What did he look like?" She swallowed. "He looked like you." Marissa didn't sleep that night. Neither did I. By morning she was gone. Her apartment door left open, her red umbrella lying in the hallway, dripping onto the carpet. No one saw her leave. No cameras caught her. No buses were recorded on that street. But I know where she went. I know who took her. And I know why the entity showed her me. Because the bus isn't just hunting victims. It's hunting connections. It's hunting stories. It's hunting me. And now, it's hunting anyone who listens. He told me his name was Daniel. I only met him once. In the lobby of my building, around 2 in the morning. He looked like he hadn't slept in days. Eyes red, hands shaking, shirt buttoned wrong. He kept glancing over his shoulder, like he expected someone to be standing there. Or something. He asked if he could talk to me, not because he knew me, but because he said I looked like someone who'd understand. I didn't correct him. Daniel worked late at a printing warehouse on the edge of town. Long shifts, bad lighting, machines that rattled like they were coughing up their last breaths. He usually drove home, but his car had died that week, so he walked. He told me the first night he heard it, he thought it was a prank. He was passing the corner of Ashwood and Briar, the same cursed intersection, when he heard someone whisper his name. Not shouted, not called, whispered, "Daniel." He spun around. No one was there, just the empty sidewalk, the leaning streetlight, and the faint smell of wet concrete. He kept walking, but the whisper followed him. "Daniel, Daniel." Soft, patient, almost playful. He said it felt like someone was walking right behind him, leaning close enough that he should have felt breath on his neck. But he didn't. There was no warmth, only cold. A cold that sank into his spine like a needle. The next night he heard it again. This time, the whisper didn't follow him. It led him straight to the bus stop. He swore it wasn't there when he left work. But when he reached the corner, the shelter flickered into existence. Glass walls fogged from the inside, bench slick with rain, schedule panel glowing faintly. He didn't want to go inside, but the whisper was already waiting. "Daniel, come here." He stepped under the shelter. The air changed instantly, thick, heavy, like the atmosphere in a room where someone had just died. The schedule had only one time listed, 12 a.m., last service, but beneath it, written in a shaky, uneven scrawl, Shir Dian, Daniel. He backed away. The glass fogged. A handprint appeared. Not a normal one. Too long, too thin. Fingers tapering into points. The handprint slid downward, leaving streaks in the condensation. Then it wrote, "I know you." Daniel told me he felt something inside him break at that moment. A small, fragile piece of sanity snapping like a twig. He turned to run. He didn't make it far. Do you want to know what happens next? If so, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, because it really helps out the channel. If you want the next part of the story, comment next part in the comments. We have new stories releasing every day, so until then, haunt you later.